We've just set off on the road to WrestleMania, kids, and we're making a few stops to pick up your favorite part-timers along the way. Brock Lesnar won the Men's Royal Rumble. Ronda Rousey won the Women's Royal Rumble. Shane McMahon was the biggest surprise return. But Daddy, he's really warm and is sweating over the back seat. Quiet, child! His father owns the company. Maybe they shouldn't have released half their roster. But WWE are gonna WWE. And here's my review of the 2022 Royal Rumble Premium Live event in about 10 minutes. Before we get into my review though, it's the biggest time of the year to be a self-hating WWE fan. So you're going to want to subscribe to WrestleTalk. Actually, you're going to need to subscribe to us here at WrestleTalk so you can vent and shout and critique about how frustrating WWE can be sometimes. God damn it. So subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos. And if we reach 820,000 subscribers, I'll do a cinnamon challenge. Do people still do cinnamon challenges?
Support WrestleTalk!
There was no pre-show match, which made the first hour of my watching feel like a waste of time. But the main card opened on a huge return right off the bat. The WrestleMania sign. Ronda Rousey return confirmed. They're in a forever feud. As per Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman's reported backstage demands, his matches either go on first or last to hammer home his main event status. And with 2 Rumble matches to fit on this show, Roman versus Seth Rollins got the opening slot. And for 15 minutes there, I was all ready for this to be a top-to-bottom fantastic show. Roman made his entrance first, despite being the champion, but it was all for the awesome nostalgia pop of Shield Seth making the Rumble's second surprise entrance. Rollins entered through the crowd to the Shield music, wearing the tactical gear and making me feel like it was almost a decade ago again. God damn, where did the last 10 years go? It was an awesome way to start the show, and specifically this match, as it was all about Seth, Roman's former brother, knowing exactly what to do to mind F him, effing him right in the mind. Including a Shield-style powerbomb through the announcer's table just 4 minutes into the match, while Pat McAfee is like, well, thanks guys, I've got to now commentate on another 4 hours of premium live event. With no table, Roman and Seth battled like they had all the finishes available from the start. Buckle bomb, stomp, spear counted into a pedigree, another spear. But whatever Roman threw at him, Seth still cackled like the Joker, trying to fist bump Reigns. It was 15 minutes of high action, drama, and character work. So of course, it ended in a DQ, but not all DQs are bad. Sometimes when you're telling an appropriate long-term story, hopefully this is a long-term story, it's the right thing to do. Roman refused to break the guillotine despite Seth getting to the ropes. The referee called off the match and the crowd booed heavily. But I'd argue they were booing Roman the heel rather than WWE the company here, especially when Reigns properly snapped, getting a chair to whack Seth from behind in a mirror image of when Rollins betrayed the Shield all those years ago. Suddenly, the post-match became about Roman's psyche, about his own crisis of ego when going up against his former head of the table. And crucially, it made me want to see the story continue because Seth not only got the DQ win, he arguably got the psychological one too. And then the Women's Rumble was one of the top 5 they've ever done. Sasha Banks came out at number 1 dressed as a Pokemon or something, I don't know, I don't watch anime, to be met by former Quizzlemania champion Melina at number 2. This was the template most of the match took. 1 or 2 current stars with nostalgia returns spread neatly between. Kelly with her arms still up in the air, Michelle McCool getting that Undertaker's wife push, Sonya Deville, Cameron, Brie Bella, and Brie Bella again. I'm seeing double. 4 Bella twins. Impact Knockouts champion Mickie James. One of the best nostalgia returns of all time, Ivory, in her Right to Censor gimmick, cutting a promo on all the lost little girls in the ring. Alicia Fox, Summer Rae, Sarah Logan with the gay meat, Lita, Mighty Molly, and of course, the match's not-so-surprise winner, the returning Ronda Rousey. That's 14 nostalgia or surprise entrants, which not only lent the match their legend status star power, it also condensed the active competitor entries into feeling like legit challengers, with the Rumble making Sasha Banks, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair obviously, and Shayna Baszler feel like they could win. Until Rousey showed up of course, and it was pretty obvious Rousey was gonna win. Perhaps I just feel this way because of how utterly uninspiring the men's lineup was, but the Women's Rumble felt that any number of people could and should have have won. Even Ripley, who's been booked into oblivion on Raw for years, felt renewed, chucking out both women's tag team champions that she's been feuding with. There were some excellent spots too, with the Ivory promo, Mickey going right for McCool reigniting their Piggy James feud, Brie Bella leading the crowd in yes chants, Bryan Danielson in the Men's Rumble confirmed, Alicia Fox seemingly immediately botching a spot with Natalya, Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan getting emotional Riot Squad beat together, Ruby Soho in the Women's Rumble confirmed, Lita brawling with Charlotte Flair, Ronda's return, Shayna getting a moment with Rousey, MMA for horsewomen style, Belair's Iron Woman performance, and Nikki almost a superhero jumping Molly Holly on her entrance and eliminating her. The only criticisms I really have are that they should have given Liv and Logan a bit more time together, and Banks should have lasted longer to interact with Belair, who maddeningly entered right after Sasha was eliminated. And I guess the ending? Not that Ronda won, because I think that's great. It's a huge return, she's great to watch, and it'll bring mainstream attention onto WWE when they need it most. It's who she finished the Rumble with. Not Shayna or Belair or Ripley, but already SmackDown Women's Champion, the Omni Flair, likely meaning they'll be having the WrestleMania match, even though Dave Meltzer has reported it's with Lynch. Speaking of, yes, Ronda did point at the WrestleMania sign hard afterwards. In fact, she pointed at it so hard, the sign legitimately caught fire. That fancy pyro me and you saw at home was actually a very real fire in the building. Fans seated under the sign were reportedly evacuated from their seats. The sign was brought down, put out with fire extinguishers, and raised up again. The WrestleMania sign does not job for anybody. Unfortunately for Becky Lynch and Doudrop, it was just another obstacle in their uphill struggle to get over. It was heel versus heel. Doudrop was never built up as a serious contender, the crowd were recovering from an action-packed Women's Rumble just before, and the WrestleMania sign was actively on fire in the audience. This was a fine match, but all the above sapped the life out of it. Becky won with a man slam off the second rope. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley was never a match that was meant to happen. Despite being 20 years in the making, Brock was only WWE champion because Roman got COVID for day one. But despite that, the hype was real. It's a never been done before dream match of two wrestlers with eerily parallel career paths. Two legit MMA guys with heavyweight horsepower. And it was alright. The match never lived up to expectations. It went 10 minutes and had all the usual Heyman finisher pacing, suplex, spear, F5, spear, suplex, suplex, spear, F5, suplex, which was cool, but I'd actually already seen this match at WrestleMania 33 with Brock and Goldberg. The referee got knocked out, Brock got a visible pin, and Roman came down and sided with Heyman again to knock out Lesnar with the belt, letting Bobby Lashley, rather weakly, win the WWE Championship. But it was all according to plan, where Heyman sides with Lesnar to help him win the title to then turn on Lesnar so he loses the title with Roman Reigns. It's a weird plan, but it's a plan. I think there's some psychological benefit there. That was followed by Edge and Beth Phoenix beating Miz and Maurice in a match designed around Maurice running away from people, but then hitting a top rope Hurricane Rana, which was actually really cool. Stereo spears and glam slams from the Grit couple won it, and hopefully now Edge can have a feud we actually want to see. And then in the final match of the show came the most boring and thus worst Men's Royal Rumble match since 2015 when Roman won. It started off promising with AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura coming out as numbers 1 and 2 like it's New Japan 2015, but then that was it really, for about 50 minutes. I sat there in 90-second intervals waiting for something interesting to happen as mid-carder or badly booked former main eventer came out one after the other. In the opposite to the women's match, the Men's Rumble felt like 90% filler, packed out with lower mid-carders and tag teams. After Styles and Nakamura, we had, in this order, Austin Theory, Robert Roode, Ridge Holland, Montez Ford, Damian Priest, Sami Zayn, Montez Ford, Johnny Knoxville, Angelo Dawkins, Amos, Montez Ford, Ricochet, Chad Gable, Dominic Mysterio, Happy Corbin, Montez Ford, Dolph Ziggler, Sheamus, Rick Boogs, and Madcap Moss. You were probably so bored by that list you didn't know that I put Montez Ford in there 4 times. There's a lot of people there I really like, but do I buy them as legit Rumble winners? No, they're nowhere near. At some point, I thought I'd accidentally started watching Survivor Series Rock Commemoration Battle Royal to win a Pizza Hut. The star power picked up a bit after number 20, with Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Big E, and Randy Orton coming out, along with celebrity entrant Bad Bunny and surprise entrant Shane McMahon and Brock Lesnar, but they were too little too late. Didn't help that the spots didn't work either. Amos's big giant stuff simply hasn't gotten over. Knoxville only took a frog splash rather than a proper jackass-worthy stunt. And in the most encapsulating moment of this Rumble, Kofi Kingston's annual Daredevil escape bit was botched when his feet touched the floor when he was meant to hold on to the barricade, somewhat derailing the next few minutes, especially when Big E came out 2 people later. You remember Big E, right? He was WWE champion 4 weeks ago. It was all just a little bit sad. Lesnar came out at number 30 and dumped out everyone to win, where the final 4 were him, McIntyre, the boss's son, and the celebrity rapper, who negotiated a final spot in the Rumble at such short notice if Heyman is no longer Brock's manager. Expect that question to never be addressed. This is what happens when WWE only care about one story in their whole men's division. Both top titles and the whole men's Rumble was designed purely to build one match, Lesnar versus Reigns. It's a decent story, but it means it's hard to care about anything else. And just to hammer home how little WWE cares about its fans' enjoyment, here's a Reddit post from It's Not About the Cell, who was at the show. We were seated under the WrestleMania sign. After the Women's Rumble winners' fireworks, the back of the sign caught fire and had some light cinders going for a while. They asked us all to clear the area. Eventually, we were able to return to our seats. As the Men's Rumble was starting, the WWE staff came around and said that as the Rumble approaches its end, that we would need to clear out of our seats. This perfectly sums up our experience, that it was more important to get a shot for TV than it was to protect your paying customers' live attendance. I can't believe I'm saying this after they took it away for so long, but in this case, maybe just don't do the pyro. What did you think of the Royal Rumble? Let me know in the comments. 68% of you are easily pleased, voting for Seth did the Shield entrance in our poll on a poll match on the community tab. After a great opening with Reigns versus Seth and the Women's Rumble, the show collapsed into its own mediocrity. After day 1, I was excited about where WWE was going. Here, I don't care. And that Men's Rumble fell far, far short of the great matches we've had in recent history. A very, very disappointing 2 out of 5. But WWE aren't alone. We too at WrestleTalk are repetitive. Because for the 2nd year in a row, in a genuine tombola where we randomly assign numbers, Andy Datson and Adam Blompier won our Jamble matches again. That is over a 1 in 100 chance of happening in back-to-back years. They'll fight for the championship at WrestleJamia. Watch their insane live reactions from the show now.
I've won! Back-to-back, lads! Back-to-back, lads!
And that's going to be your Mania match.
All I do is win!
I cannot believe it's these two.